as Dr. Kevala Marah will enter na the hall.
A great personality.
This as soon as they see, this is the member of parliament here. We can witness the conference with Dr. Kevala Marah.
Dr. Kevala Marah.
Yeah,
Oh no.
Yes, and then. And the publicity secretary, Comrade Sydney Lawyer Tunis. You are welcome. Madam, we don't keep people for too long. We want to start the program now. Please. On that note, I will summarize.
This is the Ashet Global Media Network, short statement.
And take the moment.
As we believe in the party.
To introduce and call on stage the Honorable, the specialist, political specialist. We appreciate the time we will not give to this particular program.
We do this thing this evening. I think we forgive double the issue. It is Java. Mr. Fakole. Thank you so much. Allow me to allude to something very simple, an idea that we have broached and one that I wish that will nurture as well as take along as we progress in our democratic development. It is good to have sessions like this. Conversations around national development shouldn't just take place in Parliament or in the room of cabinet or in political party offices, leaving out experts and professionals, whether they are lawyers, bankers, engineers, and all walks of life. Maybe, just maybe, forum of this nature that equalizes everyone, that invites people from all walks of life to sit down and cross-fertilize ideas, I strongly believe should be nurtured. I think it's the way to go. And so I'll put it this way, so that we'll all get exactly what I'm alluding to. And I learned this in Trinidad and Tobago. An inscription in the office of the Hilton Hotel, and it reads, if you have an idea, and we exchange our ideas, we'll have had 2 ideas. So you will have had 2, and I will have 1, 2. If you have a exchange our penny, you still have a penny and I'll still have one. So the best scenario is to learn from each other and to cross-fertilize ideas. That's why we are here tonight. Professionals, esteemed business leaders, leadership of the All People's Congress Party, and other political party leaders. Tonight, I present a nation at the crossroads, charting Sierra Leone's path to prosperity. And so I stand before you tonight, not as a politician seeking your votes, but as a son of Sierra Leone, who has witnessed both the soaring heights of our nation's potential and the devastating depths of our current crisis. I come to you with 2 decades of proven experience in economic management and international development. Country in various capacities during President Ernest Bai Koroma's transformative administration that lifted Sierra Leone to become one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Tonight, we gather at the Bintumani Conference Center, a venue that has witnessed many pivotal moments in our nation's democratic journey. How fitting it is that we meet here tonight to confront the most pressing crisis of our time, and that is the economic collapse that threatens the very survival of our nation, and chart a bold course towards the prosperity that our people deserve. In our public discourse beyond traditional press briefings, we are here not to engage in toxic politics that has plagued our nation, but to have an honest, evidence-based conversation about our economic future. That is why we have in our midst professionals drawn from various fields contributing to national development. This dialogue, therefore, represents an opportunity for government to hear from the opposition and all walks of life for policy enrichment. My fellow Sierra Leoneans, we stand at a crossroads that will determine the fate of our nations for generations to come. The path we choose will determine whether our children inherit a nation of opportunity and abundance, or one condemned to continue suffering for unfulfilled potentials. The choice before us is not merely political. Trust me, it is existential. It is about the very soul of our nation and our collective destiny as a people. The devastating reality of our economic collapse. My fellow Sierra Leoneans, let us be frank about what the government is refusing to acknowledge. We review some MLAs where they deal with gold, where they deal with plenty of the minerals. Then I ask a question. When we export them in iron ore, where do you want them for the time? What about gold? They show me some people, GGDO, which was good. But the truth is, we will not get too many experts in the country for clearly understand the grade of their minerals. Then not to expert in them, we get only few of them. That was why we decided to establish the Skills Development Fund for deliberately train build capacity of Sierra Leoneans for able to handle their sectors that we will help government for. So what we did was we called the institution of engineers, what is we call it? They will call the universities then self cap, then we self see as government. We shall not get a basket fund. Make the mining companies and all other companies tell we the skill set we they require. And the institution of engineers, they work with their companies there and advise the tertiary institutions for saying these are the new skill sets they are need for growth, for linking human resource capacity to natural resources. To train them when they're not able to provide, they're not able to get the faculty for train people in that area that we can outsource them. Institution of engineers, they will come back to me. When they will come back. No, sir, they don't come. And then the final self-starting with that. So where are the experts? How you don't know this thing where they move at this grade day? Now first grade, second grade, third grade, you don't know. So that was why in the Ministry of Finance we established the Skills Development Fund. We put on down for deliberately trained Sierra Leoneans in many skill areas. For example, fisheries, account of the exploration they do in oil. In many other areas, we know that a crop of experts at the economy will able assist government for make policies and plan and move forward. So I take your point. If I get the opportunity for lead, trust me, the skills development fund, not waiting the World Bank they support you. The skills development fund they go. All the key areas, all the key technical areas, skill areas where the country need for growth, we they invest deliberately in that. If the universities not get the faculty, outsource them. So when you train them people like they help you for moving country forward. That is why the mobile app way that they do, I don't create a thing called skills directory. After 6 months or a year, we don't know exactly the skills gap we get in our country. They will not say, okay, under fisheries, that this skill set lacking. Under oil and gas, now this. So when you know that, it's very easy for you as a government for investing in the skills areas where they require for moving country forward. And that will make you provide resources from companies where they invest in the country, especially when they need engineers, for set up the think tank for help the institution of engineers. Thank you, sir. Bafofana, I want to say this. We indicate us a no go. They will tell you so well, inflation don't go down. The redenomination of the Leone, driven by political consideration rather than sound economic fundamentals, has left our gross external reserves at a dangerously low level of 1.8 months of import cover, far below the 3 months adequacy threshold. This leaves our economy vulnerable to external shocks and undermines our ability to maintain any semblance of exchange rate stability. Excuse me. According to the latest World Bank data, our economic growth has slowed dramatically from 5.7% in 2023 to just 4% in 2024. Whilst the current administration attempts to blame external factors such as human tragedy behind this. The stories emerging from Sierra Leone are heartbreaking testimonies. When we speak of 80% food insecurity, we are talking about mothers who skip meals for their kids to eat, and elderly citizens who must choose between buying medicine and buying food. 1 in 4 of our children suffers from malnutrition. 1 in 4 of every child in this country suffers from malnutrition. Despite our nation's abundant fisheries resources. These are not abstract numbers. They represent the faces of our neighbors, our relatives, and our fellow citizens who go to bed hungry in a country that is supposed to be flowing with milk and honey. The 25% child malnutrition rate represents a generation of Sierra Leoneans whose physical and cognitive development is being stunted by policies that prioritize political expediency over human welfare. The delay in salary and pension payments has become a routine that reduces the dignity of our public servants and retirees. Teachers, nurses, police officers, the military and civil servants who dedicate their lives to serving our nation endure the humiliation of unpaid and delayed wages whilst watching government officials travel overseas in luxury. Financial transfer to local councils suffer, and schools perish without subventions. This is not a mere administrative failure. It is the bankruptcy of a social contract between government and citizens. That is the fact. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to share with you a tale of two administrations: transformation versus stagnation. To understand the magnitude of our current crisis, we must examine it against what Sierra Leone achieved under competent visionary leadership. The contrast between an Kromah administration, in which I had the honor to serve, and the current government performance is not merely stark, it is the difference between transformation and stagnation, between hope and despair. During President Kromah's tenure, Sierra Leone was recognized as one of the fastest growing economies in the world, achieving an unprecedented GDP growth. We achieved unprecedented GDP growth of 20.8% at peak. This was not luck or accident. It was the result of deliberate policies, strategic investment, and competent economic management. Even when faced with the devastating dual shocks of the Ebola epidemic and the collapse of iron ore prices, such as GDP dipped from 20.8% to a negative 6%, the Kromah administration demonstrated resilience and effective crisis management that enabled the economy to recover strongly, achieving 6.3% growth by the time we handed power in 2018. We admitted as a government that growth had been decimated by the twin shocks. We admitted the fact, and we introduced corrective measures. The President also enabled real-time audit by the Auditor General in the middle of the Ebola crisis. What an excellent demonstration of transparent and accountable leadership. Well, Sierra Leoneans have witnessed the reverse. That same Auditor General was suspended and removed from office by the same administration for doing her job. We asked her to conduct real-time audits in the middle of a crisis. And when you do the same of Marah and Saka, in the energy sector, the infrastructure achievements of the Kromah era stand as monuments to what visionary leadership can accomplish. We delivered over 1,000 kilometers of paved roads, connecting communities and facilitating trade across our nation. In stark contrast, the current administration has managed less than half of that achievement to build on the foundation that we laid. In the energy sector, our accomplishments were transformative. We kept King Tom and Blackwell Road power plant functioning. We delivered the 50 megawatt Bombuna hydro dam, along with additional hydro facilities, Charlotte, Bankasoka, and Makali. We brought Adax Bioenergy with 15 megawatts. We implemented solar parks and the innovative Barefoot Women Solar Project. brought 6 megawatts of power to Lunge and 8 megawatts to Kono, and facilitated the CLSG power supply network which connected Sierra Leone to the regional power grid. These were not mere construction projects, ladies and gentlemen. They were investments in our nation's productive capacity and our people's quality of life. When I'm not tired of blackout? Okay. Water, the most basic of human needs, was brought to multiple cities under our watch. Kelima, Kailan, Pujang, Bo, Makeni, Potloko, Mile 91, and Kabbalah, which is not functioning right now. We understood that access to clean water is not a luxury, but a fundamental requirement for human dignity. The current administration's contribution to water infrastructure pale in comparison. They're not trial. Perhaps, most importantly, the Kuruma administration demonstrated that effective economic management could create an environment conducive to private sector growth and investment. We reduced domestic interest rates from a crushing 27% to under 5%, creating space for businesses to access credit and expand their operations. We introduced the Treasury Single Account for better resource management, a system that this government adopted quickly but has failed to operate effectively. But there are strategic projects that this government don't, and you should know about them. Ladies and gentlemen, we resuscitated the stock exchange to enhance access to finance. It dropped dead under this government to build on the foundation that we laid. They're not all In the energy sector, our accomplishments were transformative. We kept King Tom and Blackwell Road power plant functioning. We delivered the 50 megawatt Bombona hydro dam, along with additional hydro facilities, Charlotte, Bankasoka, and Makali. We brought Adax Bioenergy with 15 megawatts. We implemented solar parks and the innovative Barefoot Women Solar Project, brought 6 megawatts of power to Lunge and 8 megawatts to Kono, and facilitated the CLSG power supply network which connected Sierra Leone to the regional power grid. These were not mere construction projects, ladies and gentlemen. They were investments in our nation's productive capacity and our people's quality of life. When I'm not tired of blackout? Okay. Water, the most basic of human needs, was brought to multiple cities under our watch. Kelima, Kailan, Pujang, Bo, Makeni, Potloko, Mile 91, and Kabbalah, which is not functioning right now. We understood that access to clean water is not a luxury, but a fundamental requirement for human dignity. The current administration's contribution to water infrastructure pale in comparison. They're not trial. Perhaps, most importantly, the Kuruma administration demonstrated that effective economic management could create an environment conducive to private sector growth and investment. We reduced domestic interest rates from a crushing 27% to under 5%, creating space for businesses to access credit and expand their operations. We introduced the Treasury Single Account for better resource management, a system that this government adopted quickly but has failed to operate effectively. But there are strategic projects that this government don't, and you should know about them. Ladies and gentlemen, we resuscitated the stock exchange to enhance access to finance. It dropped dead under this government. On the initiative to conduct sovereign credit rating supported by the Standard Chartered Bank, it dropped dead in the Ministry of Finance. We established the Young Entrepreneurs Fund as a preferential facility to assist young people start their own businesses for young people. It dropped dead at the Central Bank. It's not functioning. We introduced Skills Development Fund to support the growth of high-level skills in the economy. It dropped dead in the Ministry of Finance. We initiated effective records management system in the Accountant General's Department. Again, it dropped dead in the Ministry of Finance. We launched and operationalized a portal to track all NGO projects nationwide. It dropped dead in the new Ministry of Development Planning. We launched Transparency Sierra Leone to enable both government and citizens to track 862 projects nationwide. It dropped dead at State House. All of these initiatives died. Is it that the government didn't review our handing over notes after the 2018 elections? Or did they just abandon them? I leave that to you to ponder. This reason, and among several others, ladies and gentlemen, that I am proposing that political parties consider adopting what I call government transition protocol to guide transition arrangements after elections. It is important. Ladies and gentlemen, our approach to social protection during times of crisis exemplified leadership that puts people first. During the Ebola crisis, you will recall, when schools were closed for over a year, we ensured that every teacher in Sierra Leone continued to receive their salary on time. We maintained all government employees on the payroll.